lot, all right.
That is. And welcome, folks. Let me get the right headset on. But we are live today. I'm PHred, and this is KPHRED Prime Live. Sorry for not talking to the mic. With my erstwhile co-host on the feminine side, Barbara Wainwright. Barbara, how are we doing today?
Hey, Fred. Woohoo! We're doing great. I'm excited to get started and hear all the exciting news from our guests.
All right. We're going to go there, but I'm going to speak for a couple of guests that aren't here. This past week, neurodivergent news from our own Deanna Brakefield started, and that's rocking. And I'm told that, and we also had our first episode of Business and Beyond with Tess Booker. And next week, we actually launch the first episodes of Denise Stegall's new Healthy Living, Happy Life, and happy 21st anniversary to Denise and her husband, Mark. They're off doing, longtime married folk things. All right, so those are my first shout-outs. There's another one in there, too. Robert Butwin, the first non-KPHRED radio show host to become a KPHRED ambassador, or at least should be by the end of the day. So, how's that?
That's very exciting.
And today is our first Jim Squared Day. And we've
second power.
and we've got piled higher and deeper. PhDs squared today. Again, a first in KPHRED Prime. So now I'll let you start introducing our guest.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, it's really amazing, the group of people that have come forward to be
abused
hosts on KPHRED. And it's great that we have a few of them here today in the studio. So let's start with Tess. Tess, please introduce yourself and tell us about your show and what's happening with you.
Hello, my name is Tess Booker. So grateful to be here with all you guys. I am the owner and founder of San Diego Spotlight. It is a business hub where I also am a host of this KPHRED, right, where I talk business and beyond. So I love getting the basics and the nitty-gritty of ROI, but I also know that there's life in business and the ups and the downs and the mechanics of business and the discouragement that comes. So I just like to be this resource hub where people can come and be and get the things that they need to survive and thrive and allow more in their business.
Wow. Okay. So when you say the ROI, that has to do with accounting, right?
Yeah. The money, right? The money that matters.
Just want to clarify.
We need money and we need relationships and we need health and we need the best self-expression, probably the perfect self-expression in business to go for the dreams that we want when we're in business, right? Yes. And I would imagine that probably a number one priority for most businesses would be their ROI. If they're not making any money, then they're not going to be around for very long. Yeah, and what we don't understand and what we get caught up in ROI is it's not just about the money. It's your time, it's your energy, it's your resources, it's how you show up. That's all a return on your investment, right? But the money is what the goal is, but how do we get there and doing that effectively where our money is like circulated, we can give it, we can keep it, we can save it, we can spend it, we can invest it, right?
And
so on business.
That's right. Keep growing the business and expanding and doing more. That's awesome.
See,
okay.
My thought is buy an island in non-governmentally controlled ocean waters, establish your own country. That way people pay you taxes. So I'm going to pick our next one was the dude who actually, his forefathers did that, came over on the with Leif Erikson, one of our PhDs.
So, Fred, can I just tell you one of the ways that I kind of disrupt some of that taxes is
No,
right?
Nope, because nope.
those industries.
Nope.
Talking about.
Nope. We're got to move on because Kat Booker has an awesome question to ask today. I've known since yesterday, and I want to move to that ultimately. Awesome question, especially given who we got. So, to the trade show fanatic, tell us, sir, either A, what it was like coming over with Leif Erikson, B, running that first marathon with the Greeks, because what you don't know about Howard is, you might if you know, he's been a marathon runner all his life.
Wow.
But he's also the trade show fanatic. So, dude, tell us about the show.
The Trade Show Fanatic is about looking at trade shows from a different aspect than anybody else is doing. I look at it from the trade show floor with real action is, from the participants in the booth and the people walking the floor, so we can get right down into the nitty-gritty of the good, bad, and ugly. So they can avoid all the pitfalls of what happens at a show and how to make them actually get a greater return on your investment without spending any more money. I've just got done. I'm on a trend of 3 ag shows now with the IMTF show. I've done the World Beef Show, then I did the World Finance Show, and I just got done with the World Dairy Show up in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin.
Above the cheddar curtain.
Believe it or not, they show off these cows in white pants. I mean, go figure.
That doesn't sound tasty.
Ag shows are just amazing. Don't let these farmers in jeans fool you. They've got ag degrees, at least in Wisconsin, usually from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Sorry, Jim. And next week I go up to Minnesota for the IMTF show, which is ingredients, flour, corn milling, and all those nasty things. A lot of tabletop displays. There's ways to work a show on either way that they become successful. And I just expose them.
So I got to say, I've been to a couple of different types of tech shows, and then we'll let Barbara interject some estrogen into this discussion. But they were either tech shows or they were cattle killing shows. Well, I spent 10 years in the meat industry. And so all of mine were, the ones I went to and all the facilities I got to go to were usually killing something. Chickens, hogs, cattle. And I got to tell you, the chicken plants, they were the worst. Which I think we hit 2 weeks ago with Joel Hulk about how bad chicken death is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barbara. Give the next question to Howard.
Oh my gosh, Howard. So how long have you been attending expositions or trade shows? And has that been something you've done all your life or just recently?
Pretty much all my life. I mean, to humor Fred, when we came over, we went to the farm expos with the Indians and traded Indian corn.
First, right? Did you do first? Yeah, okay.
My first industrial trade show was in 1970, let me think, 6. Graph Expo number 3 at McCormick Place before it burned down.
Wow. All right. So all your life then?
Yeah, all my life.
Yeah.
I finally found out that, people at trade shows, it's a beautiful thing when you're in the advertising business because they have what they call budgets. And rather than going after other accounts that they're paying their advertising marketing out of their cash flow. These companies that go into these shows that are dropping anywhere from $10,000 to $200,000 actually budget these things.
Yeah. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah. So give me an idea of what kind of a budget these things are. Like, so what is it, as a company, do you go in, okay, so is it like a lot of different vendors that are coming to the trade show, and so the place is huge and there's a overarching umbrella that brings all these other different companies together under the same roof, or is it one company that's bringing all their wares and sharing that?
Well, I did go to one of those, but we'll talk, that's for a future show, where the company actually did their own show of all their different divisions.
Very nice.
But these last shows were put on by associations in the industries that they came out with. The dairy show was put on by the Dairy Association. The World Beef Show was put on by the Angus Beef Association. The IMFT show, which was heavy machinery, CNC, a lot of AI. Oh, it was fun with that one. I became an AI expert. It's very, well, we'll get it. Anyway.
Yeah, the AI talk is later.
Like 1,800 exhibitors, 86,000 people went through that show in 6 days of total chaos. There's only 2 shows in America that could handle, 2 venues that could handle that show. One was McCormick Place, and the other is Las Vegas.
So where's
no other hall could handle those shows in the United States.
Okay, so Vegas, and where was the other place?
McCormick Place in Chicago.
McCormick Place in Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. Okay, so Chicago and Nevada.
And I'm lazy, so I wait for the shows to come to me because nobody's paying me to go to these things yet.
All right, so
oh my God.
I got 2 questions for you.
I got 4 answers.
I know you do.
Okay.
So 1, thoughts, because I know you've gone to at least one because I made you go to it, of the virtual trade shows.
The virtual trade show. What a waste of time.
Tell us how you feel about it.
Tell me how you really feel. Hey, you know what? I just gotta say, I know somebody invested a ton of money to create the software to host a virtual trade show, but it was a waste of time. Let's hear more about that.
Okay. I have been, well, one was a waste of time totally, and the other was not a waste, but interesting. Which do you want to hear about first, the time waster or the one that's...
So, well, go with the time waster. We can discuss in my last question, which is you hit the good, bad, and ugly. And when you said that earlier, you made Kat light up, which no one can hear, but she did. So that one we're going to save for either the bad or ugly part of the question.
The one that almost worked.
Ugly.
Put on by the Hong Kong Trade Association.
Ooh.
There is nothing more chaotic than an Asian trade show. I don't care if it's in person or if it's online. These people are crazy. They go after the juggler. I mean, if you are at their booth, they literally grab your neck until you give them all your information so they can follow up with you. They tagged everybody that was going into the show so that the vendors could find out your name, your company name, your email address, your website, and your phone number.
So
I did not give them my whatever it is, web ID number, so they couldn't. They had to pay money if they wanted to get a hold of me. But they actually collected information. But I could not collect their information as easily. Yes, Fred.
So no, my question is to Kat: is that bad or ugly?
That's a really good question. I always find it hard to determine what something is going to be, whether it's bad or ugly, because it's such a matter of perspective.
Waffle answer.
Yeah, collecting everybody's information right when they get there, or maybe before they even get there when they're buying their ticket or whatever, that just makes a lot of sense. And how did they tag you, Howard? That's what the question came to my mind. It's like you said, they tagged you. Was it some RFID chip or what?
You have to.
Ooh, that's scary.
When you put in, like, when you put in your for attending, they ask you all the details, including my cell phone number.
I thought you were going to say DNA there for a second. So
no. I putting up my cell phone number.
Okay, so they got your cell phone number. How did they tag you so that when you went to somebody's table, they already had all your data?
Well, because your little
avatar
guy that walks around the show,
avatar.
If the vendors clicked your guy or gal, there it was, and they could he visited my booth. They got all your information. It's like when you go to a real show, and you've got like, here we go.
You stop and pick up the chocolate and a tchotchke.
Here. You got this beautiful badge with this beautiful, code.
So the QR code. So they actually.
And exactly. So they can scan it, and there it is online. So they don't even have to take their little scanner and scan it. It's right there, and they just take it.
Thanks, Barbara, for explaining it was a QR code to our listeners. 323-580-5755. That's 323-580-5755. We are taking calls. So, all right, last question. Kat will tell us whether that was bad, which one was bad, which one was ugly. What is the good in the virtual trade show, if anything?
Somebody was collecting data.
Yeah.
It was the vendors, and as normally I am there doing reverse selling. Don't tell anybody, because that's a no-no. You can get kicked out of shows if you're doing reverse selling. I've never gotten kicked out yet.
Neither have I.
What?
Neither have I.
But you can't. I've seen people get kicked out of trade shows because they're doing reverse selling, but they're doing it wrong. They haven't talked to me. But in this case, at least somebody was doing it. The vendors there and the Hong Kongese, or whatever they're called, set it up properly so that they could collect this data and get it to the people's booths, or if you attended one of the seminars, that they would have all your data and could do follow-up. And unlike U.S. vendors, Asians follow up.
Yeah.
U.S. vendors only 20% do any follow-up.
Yeah, more data tracking. Oh boy, the Matrix. Here we are. All right, Barbara. Since we got two gyms, I'm gonna let you pick the next gym, or the first gym. I'll take the second gym, and then we'll head to our own Kat Becker with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the question of the day.
Ooh. All right. Well, let's do Gym 11. What is your show, Jim? And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Well, I generally speak about 3 very different topics.
Okay.
And well, I should say 4 because business I teach corporate strategy. So that's not the most mundane, but that's the most grounded. And one is actually the current state of STEM education in the U.S.
Ooh, okay.
And there are some real issues. I mean, if you listen to the popular media, nobody should go to high school because it's really expensive and you don't learn anything.
High school or college?
College.
You said high school.
Oh, sorry, college. Well, maybe high school too, but. No.
Well, I think, I think
to the pop. Yeah, I meant college. Sorry, Fred. Good catch. But college is very expensive, and you come out with a useless degree, etc. So the gist of what I talk about is, who's going to design the next airplane, and who the hell's going to do my hip replacement surgery? There really is a practical use of college without.
Yes, there is, for sure.
Who am I next?
Grateful. The people that need hip replacement surgery are grateful that there are people that are interested in going to college and learning that skill.
Cardiology too.
Hip replacement surgery. So. And so that's a big issue, and we have a shortage of STEM graduates in the U.S. And so there's my 3-pronged solution is one. The K-12 system in the U.S. is terrible at teaching science and math, so we have to fix that. And getting your kids interested in careers in science and math. So that's one. 2 is in undergraduate schools only. In graduate school, this is different. But there's a sort of a gender and minority mismatch. And I'll just use gender at the moment, but when I was an undergraduate engineer, there were 3 women in my class. 20% of all of the undergraduate engineers in the U.S. are women. And most of the really smart people I know are women, so we could clearly get many more women into in STEM fields as undergraduates. Actually, women are 60% of the graduate students are close to it in the U.S., taking in all counts. So that's number 2.
Okay, wait. Before you go number 2, I want to know how long you've been married?
I'm not allowed to say publicly.
Fair enough.
A very, very long time.
Okay, that may shape that attitude of women being the smartest you know. So, how'd you like that one? That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was good. You didn't catch me, though, Fred.
I know, and that's why. So,
Anyway, so the third one is most of the students I teach are foreign students in the graduate business school. And we educate all these smart kids. They're not actually technically kids, but to me they are, who, come over here, get really good degrees. They're very good students. And then we make them leave the country, which is the silliest thing ever. So if we could correct those 3 things, we could adjust the shortage significantly. So that's the short story for STEM education. And I just don't know where the media thinks the next surgeon or the next
cardiologist,
or whatever. I mean, it's nuts. But anyway, so having said that, the other one is artificial intelligence, which is a widely misunderstood concept.
Love it.
I was, contrary to popular opinion, I was not around when Alan Turing came up with the theoretical machine for artificial intelligence.
You sure? Howard was.
I was alive, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay, Howard was. Okay. But it's widely misunderstood. It's a very valuable concept. And whether we debate seriously what is and what isn't artificial intelligence, that's not necessarily the key issue. I mean, there's a lot of things that one could argue is or isn't, like large language models like ChatGPT, but it's very useful. And speaking of hip replacements, when you go to the doctor now, you have to sign a release. And you guys all know this. You have to sign a release because when you used to go to the doctor's office, these highly trained physicians would be typing the whole time you're there. And the release is to allow them to use AI to capture the discussion with the patient, which seems to me a very efficient use. And AI in some areas like radiology in particular is through machine learning, is much more effective. But also, contrary to popular media, it's not going to kill us all anytime.
Oh, I don't know. There was an incident recently that it nearly gave me a heart attack. We had.
How's that? Come on, share more.
Did, Fred, so.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't need the second one. A couple of weeks ago, we were getting bombarded, overwhelmed, basically, at the KPHRED site by Chinese TikTok large chat model bots that were coming over and killing bandwidth. And it wasn't until we started banning whole swaths of IPs in the firewall that we stopped it. But it was really, really annoying and pushed my blood pressure through the roof. All right, so we'll talk AI later. Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity is where I stay at. And I get to deal with a whole lot of people that they can barely use a cell phone, let alone an AI tool. But tell us about Pillar's Principles, which you and Ray Pillar are on, which is on Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific.
So that's a really useful topic. And one thing I teach now, but I spent my career running companies and doing turnarounds. But the experience from that, which is the show with Ray, is how do you both fix and grow companies? Generally small to medium ones, but that could go on for a very long time. But it's a lot of those stories are in the book that Fred held up. But in any case, so just to focus on turnarounds for one, which is kind of the key aspect of what we've been talking about. That isn't Ray speaking about. Oh, no. No. We're going to have dueling.
Dog attack, folks. Dog attack.
Anyway, so turnarounds are a fascinating...
Who let the dogs out? Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
Lots of companies find themselves in difficulty for a variety of reasons. People always ask, what's the common thread between the difficulty that companies run into? There really isn't one, except I will say there is one. And that is customer service and customer satisfaction. At some level, virtually every company I've gone into to fix, and by the way, they all did get fixed, but the sort of techniques for fixing them were different. But in every case, they had lost sight of the value of their customer. And so there's a variety of ways to address that, but that becomes the number one issue. That's the common thread with all of them. And my favorite quote about turnarounds, which is so true, and I have long since forgotten to whom I should attribute it to, is act quickly because most things are obvious. And that is so true. And why it wasn't noticed earlier by the companies is interesting. But, I could go on and on about turnarounds all day, so we don't have all day. If there are any specific questions, I can answer those. Or
see, I always was a fan of Sun Tzu's in chaos there's opportunity. So,
true.
What's the big opportunity these days in business besides AI? Don't go the AI thing. That's a whole another show we'll do, a whole different episode.
I mean, it's not. So one comment on AI is that every company now puts AI in their name, which is because they think it changes their valuation.
Okay, wait. That's actually, I do want to get your answer to that. I saw recently, like yesterday or today, that companies, quote, AI companies are raising billions in capitals to the point where it reminds me of the dot-com bomb of the 90s. Are we going to see an AI bomb stock-wise?
I don't think like the late 90s, because I think, the institutional investors know better these days about AI, generally speaking. Not 100% true, but generally speaking. And, there's hardware manufacturers that are tagged as AI companies and have really high valuations, but that's mostly just because they have a better product that does things computing-wise, whether it's AI or not. So that's a really good question, but I don't see that happening in tech again like the 90s, which was a very interesting period. And some of the turnarounds I did were companies that raised a lot of money in the late 90s and then managed to, pardon my language, but piss it all away.
All right, so we'll talk about raising money for a small upstart tech media company later. Barbara, you want to – I'll give you the final comment to Jim, and then we'll go to another Jim.
Well, you raised some really great items here. So talking about graduates and going back to the first thing you talked about in the STEM studies and the colleges, and one of the things that you said is very true, is expensive. So I'm sure that there are a lot of people that might be interested in getting educated in those fields, and yet there's a money factor that comes into play and getting in there. And I know there's scholarships and things like that, but I understand those are extremely difficult to come by as well. Have you thought about, I don't know if you have any kind of a solution or thoughts about how that could be rectified?
Well, my first answer is, at the risk of offending some of my colleagues, is that universities historically are not run well as businesses. And you would think they would be, but not necessarily. So, and it's far from a homogeneous field, and the range of universities is very broad. But
yes.
So there are things that universities can do for sure to run more efficiently. And and there are some well-known ones who have not. Purdue University in Indiana, for example, has historically not raised tuition, I forget the length of time, in 10 years. Now, a former governor who was not an academic was the president of the university during that whole period. So maybe, that makes a difference, and it varies. So that's one. Two is that, so if they ran more efficiently, that would make a big difference. Two is, the way to think about the cost is what's generally called the sort of net tuition, and you mentioned scholarships.
Yeah.
So if you look at, sad to say, my primary alma mater, the list price for room, board, and tuition is now $87,000 a year.
A year?
A year.
Okay,
And most of its peer institutions are similar.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, the peer institutions, these are relatively wealthy universities in terms of endowments and so forth. And a significant part of their revenue comes from research. So even schools like that are, not huge in terms of student population, are somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion a year in research. So if they manage all of that appropriately, the key measure now is the net cost to the students. How much money can they get in terms of scholarships? How much money can they get in terms of loans, which is not the best answer, but
right.
And so the net cost is not $87,000 to the average student. And so it is a question that absolutely has to be dealt with.
Yeah, because you think about $87,000 a year, and they most likely, being in the engineering field, need to go for more than 4. So certainly doctors, it's a long time, right? Medical physicians, surgeons, and that is even longer. So that's just such a crazy number. And how long would it take for them to recoup that, to make it worth the while for going through that. You've got
Yes.
long time. Plus, once they get out, not only they start generating income that can help pay for that student loan, but then there's things like their medical insurance, which is off the charts because of so many lawsuits. It's like such a nightmare between the attorneys and the lawsuits and trying to recoup the money that they spent on their education. And I don't know, I can understand why there's a problem there.
That's a huge problem. But I will draw a distinct. You raised a good question. There is a distinction between undergraduates and graduate students. My school my alma mater has more graduate students than undergrads because of medical school and law school and engineering and everything else.
Yeah.
Most of the grad students have much better financial support than the undergrads. So undergraduate school is the biggest challenge for sure. So, most of the graduate students have, research funding, they're research assistants, they're teaching assistants. So they're in a sense almost employees of the university. But you're absolutely right. The undergrad, and there's another confounding factor, and that is demographics. The number of high school graduates, or just Gen Z or whatever the hell we're on.
Yeah.
Gen A.
Speaking small.
Soon.
So we're spreading out more education across fewer students. And in fact, a lot of schools are actually having to consolidate or close or whatever, so that's another issue that contributes to that is the number of high school graduates is actually shrinking.
I was not aware of that. Were you, Fred? I didn't know the number of graduates was shrinking. Why is that? I mean, are more people not having children? I mean, but that would have had to start 20 years ago for the graduates, right?
Yes, that is true, though, and that's continuing. The U.S. is still slightly above the replacement rate for birth rate, which means I think it's like 2.2 or something is the replacement rate. But there are countries, notably Japan, Russia, and others, and China, that are far below the replacement rate. And the impact that that's having in general, not just in higher education in those countries, is true, but also in economic growth and so forth. It's a huge issue.
Oh, there's a question I got to ask Kat.
We need more kids. I've done my part. I have 4 kids.
Kat, can you do another? Never mind.
That was a really good set of questions so far. That was awesome.
All right. So we're going to go to our next Jim. Jim, come on down. Now, I'm going to let Jim talk about his show a bit, but he had me when he told me he had great grandkids. To me, it's kind of like when I met Spider-Man's grandma the first time. I've got this thing about grandkids, and great grandkids, that's something I aspire to. I also aspire to calling some when I'm 100. And, Grace Malloy. Happy birthday to Grace Malloy. You can see when we interviewed her at 100, she just turned 101, and she was the first one to make me realize that being a kid, I still was in the right demographic. Jim, what's the show name?
The show we're doing, Better World, it's a critical conversation that we're having to uplift humanity. And it's based upon a book that I wrote along with 2 other training consultants a few years back. And we all were trying to come together to decide what are the key questions or top questions that folks are asking in class. And it went from answering that to a flyer to a brochure. And then it turned out into a small book. And what the book does, it really lays the foundation for people to begin to look inside of self and think, why do I think, function, and do what I do? And how does that impact our society that we live in? And there it is, Miss Barbara.
But no one can see that on radio, folks. Barbara's holding up the book, A Better World, so everyone knows who's listening what's going on.
What's going on? So Barbara is like really said, Jim, hey, let's do this book. And I wanted the podcast, and so we started talking. And we're using a model that she does, where she reads the book and then has opportunities to talk about each word in the book and share that with an audience. And then, hopefully audience will kind of tie into it or tap into it, or they'll just kind of like listen to what's happening and listen to what's going on. And so that's what we're doing. And my only reason why we aren't up and running now is because I'm still trying to figure out how to edit Zoom. But
all right.
I think I have.
You have somebody from. Yeah, you have somebody from what I heard earlier this week. So maybe next week we can get it dealt with.
We should do it.
All right. So before I have let Barbara take the next question, which means I'm going to ask another one.
Okay.
So you talked about the questions people ask in the class. What are the top? Because I read a report of a college professor quitting, or maybe he quit. He retired because too many students were relying on AI to write answers for them, to the point where in some cases, they couldn't read a book. So what are the top 2 questions people are asking in classes?
I guess the top 2 questions that I'm getting, because I'm of that D, E, and I theory, and we did D, E, and I before it was called D, E, and I. And people were trying to figure out what is it and why is there such a struggle with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we get questions around, can't we just get over it? Everything is done, so why can't we just all get over it, and then why can't we all just get along? And I think probably that's the driver question. And anything along that line is the driver. And so what I focus on is my thrust is in with Barbara and I both going through this, and Barbara and I are at 2 kind of like different ends of the spectrum. I don't understand why people just don't have enough empathy and insight to understand that folks are different. And different is just different, not bad.
Absolutely.
And so, and why don't we then just push for equity? Because there's more than enough resources of everything you've been talking about. I work with schools. We know why many schools here in Columbus, the school rating in Columbus is like a 2 out of 5. But we're finding similar things happening everywhere. There just isn't enough equity that's going around, with people being open to understand that we all are in this game together.
Absolutely.
If any aspect of a system is broke or cracked, it impacts the entire system.
Okay.
If I have the best car in the world and the right front tire breaks, guess what happened to my $100,000 system? It's down.
Or if it's snowing out and there's not a way to charge my $100,000 EV. So, all right. So now that's 3, because there are 2 other things I flashed on as you answered that of, can't we all just get along? Dear God, I heard Rodney King.
Yes.
And then the other thing I heard.
And that's real.
That and the other thing I heard when you were describing Barbara was my normal old comment.
My normal?
Yeah, Barbara being old.
Oh, no, not old. Barbara being the young teeny weeny in the group. But she has a different perspective, possibly about this whole thing of, I don't even know if I would say different perspective, Barbara. It's that you haven't had to, you have the privilege of not having to explore it.
Yes,
not having to take a deep dive in it. Whereas other people have had to take the deep dive in it.
Yes. I don't know, and I kind of feel very ignorant when it comes to that, because I really wasn't forced, if you will, to take those diversity, equity, and inclusion classes that I guess a lot of companies are sending people to go do. So I don't know. I look at it as, hey, I was blessed to do that. But at the same time, I love people, and I agree with everything you just said. If you have one part of the system that's suffering, the whole system suffers. And we're all connected. We're all human beings. We all bleed red blood. It's like, so there's so many things that don't make sense to me logically. I'm a very logical, linear thinking person. So when things like, people say things that are defensive or offensive to somebody, and I think, well, why would you do that? Because they're just like you.
So I have one bone to pick with Barbara, is that given that we may have been penetrated by alien races, how do you know the aliens on Earth bleed red?
You're right, Fred. I actually don't know that I personally have ever met any aliens, although maybe I am one.
Maybe.
And I bleed red, so there you go.
And the one thing that I say about DE and I, when people run from it, first thing is go to your family reunion. What do you have? Diversity. If anyone in the family reunion did not get an invitation, they're pissed off because they wanted to be treated with equity.
Right.
And if you leave them out, then they're going to be mad because they wanted to be included. So DE&I is everyone on the face of this earth, every day, all of your life. That's all it is.
Okay. Now I got a bone to pick. There's some family members I don't want to be anywhere within
exactly
3,000 miles with.
They're different in your family.
Their family, and my daughter said, no, Dad, don't go to jail, please.
And Jim, that totally supports my point. My second point on STEM education is.
Oh, yeah, you two are going to talk on another episode. I already knew that. That's why I got you both here. Give me at least half a brain.
Oh, we have a lot of things to talk about, Fred.
Yes, we do.
Well, first we got to go to Kat, and then she's going to give us the good, bad, and the ugly, and give us a question of the day, and then it can be a free-for-all. Fair enough?
Oh, no, not a free-for-all.
So, Tortoise Lady.
Yes.
First we got to give the sound effect.
Oh, is it going to work this time? I do it myself.
Is that what a tortoise does?
Yeah, well.
That's not what a tortoise does, but that is our horrible impersonation of the good, the bad, and ugly.
Oh, yes, okay.
And if you listen to the podcast, or the rebroadcast of the show, you'll actually hear the true, it's Zoom that screws it up. So, Kat, tell us about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I would love to. So first of all, I am the host of the show, The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business, here on KPHred Radio. It airs every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Central. And on this podcast, we love to talk to all sorts of different business owners, real estate investors, corporate executives, all the different people in different types of business to learn what they've learned from failure that has led them to their success. So we know that it's not always good times. There are more bad and ugly times than anything, but we can learn and grow from each one of those. And so that's what we talk about on that podcast. And so now when I come here to KPHred Live on Saturdays, we love to talk about different good, bad, and ugly of life and relate it back to business and what's been going on in the last 2 weeks since we last met. So I prefer to start off with the ugly so that we can end on the good and have that kind of good memory in our minds. So the ugly that I want to talk about is just what has been happening in Western North Carolina with the devastation that has occurred there from Hurricane Helene. Watching the stories and the pictures and the videos come in where entire towns have just been flattened. It breaks my heart. And I guess the silver lining there is seeing people come together and really rally for those people to help get them what they need. But when tying it back to business, it's easy to think like, oh, okay, Asheville, North Carolina, why weren't you guys prepared for this? Because they're Asheville, North Carolina. They're nowhere near the danger zones of the hurricanes. Like no one ever could have predicted that, and that's just part of life. just like how we went through COVID and no one could have predicted this global mass pandemic that would affect us and the ways that it would affect us. So as business owners and just as people, there's only so much we can do to prepare for these kind of things. But I think it's really about the mental preparation that we can do that's completely in our control of how we react to these different situations and how we choose to move forward through them. So that's the tip, the bringing the ugly from that example of it's really up here in our heads and in our minds and what we can do there to be mentally resilient for all of the crazy that life throws at us, like the alien invasion that Fred thinks is happening at every moment or has already happened. And we're all just walking around with people that bleed green.
Not everyone, but I wouldn't be surprised. And then there's the hybrids, which I think they bleed blue. But all right, so Barbara, I'll give you a shot at commenting on the bad, because when I hear disaster, I hear sadly who made the best of the chaos. And that would be Elon Musk and Starlink, because everybody who never heard of Starlink has. So go ahead, Barbara.
That's interesting. Okay, so I don't watch, what do you call that, mainstream media? So
corporate media.
Corporate media. Okay, so since I don't do that, I was unaware that Elon Musk got some big news time, I guess, for providing Starlink satellites
for free
to the area so that people could be on the internet so that they'd be able to communicate. Is that what happened?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that would be the good part. Maybe that would be the good part of that. The ugly is the disaster that it left behind, because that's not pretty, not at all. So that's really tough. And I like that you brought in the perspective, Katrin, of, how come they weren't prepared? Well, that area, who in a million years would have dreamed, just like the COVID thing, like you said, who in a million years would have thought that would have happened there?
Right.
So I don't know. So what are your thoughts about, do you have thoughts about how, could they do things better from here forward? Could they make a difference? What do you think?
I think it's one of those things that, yes, there's retroactive things that you could say we should have done X, Y, Z, but you can put yourself under a mountain of shoulds. And,
yes.
And it doesn't
help
help anything and doesn't change anything.
No.
I said it's really just about our own internal sovereignty of how we manage our thoughts, because there could be, an earthquake in Florida, right? Things that we wouldn't expect, and there's no way to prepare for those things. So it's just one of those things. And, another aspect of business to put it into is how it will affect transportation. We've heard a lot lately about the ports closing and the unions and all of that going on, but there's entire sections of Interstate 40 that are completely closed down in that part of the world. And how is that going to affect the transportation of goods? That really hasn't been something that I've heard people speak about, but I'm sure there's going to be way more implications to business from that tragedy than I think we've expected. Who knows what we'll see.
Yeah, I've heard some pretty disparaging things about our government, and the way that they reacted and responded was not appropriate. However, I've also heard some very encouraging things about American citizens acting and I'll say being proactive in helping and providing food and making a difference. In helicopters, because the roads are out, people that own helicopters also contributing to helping out in that regard.
Yeah, I've heard reports of the Cajun Navy that were so, monumental during Hurricane Katrina, going up there to help, that they're just like, what can we do? Just some guys with boats, but they're like, all right, let's do a helping hand. So it's really encouraging to see us come together as people outside of the government stuff.
So
way to ever talk about that.
Before we go to the bad, all I'll say is Anybody who's ever been stuck in a Chicago snowstorm knows that it's the people around you who help get your car out, because otherwise you'll be waiting for days for the city plows to come past. So to me, it's always people around you in the disaster are the ones who help you out, because I believe the scariest words in the human language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. So
a Chicago City plow will only put you in deeper.
Exactly. And I've had that happen.
I feel like that's a really good analogy for some things.
So take us to the was that the ugly?
That was the ugly. That
take
was the
us
ugly.
To the bad.
So now we'll move on to the bad. So outside of hosting a podcast, I am also a manager of an implementation team for a software company, and we've been doing a lot of hiring recently. So when I think about kind of just what's been going on in life, both in the media at large and then in my own personal life, I've done so many interviews over the last 2 weeks, and I'm 42 years old. The other person that I'm interviewing with, my cohort, he's 38. So, I mean, I wouldn't say like we have old school mentality, but when I see these other people coming in and interviewing, oh my goodness. So what I wanted to do is kind of talk about what are some of the bad of interviews to look out for, and to provide tips on how to become a better interviewer. So number one, and common sense is not common, because I thought this would have been so obvious. Show up on time.
Fundamental.
It's fundamental. I didn't think it needed to be said, but it definitely needs to be said. These are Zoom interviews, so it's not like there's a traffic component, but come on, like you can be there at least a minute or two ahead of time. So it was always something I was paying attention to. Number two is dress appropriately. I'm not expecting a suit and tie in every person, in every scenario, but I'm also expecting more than just a t-shirt. Definitely, only get one chance to make a first impression. Oh, I already have plenty of impressions about you, Fred, so it doesn't matter that you're wearing a t-shirt.
Score!
But, there's a saying for dress for the job that you want. And it definitely shows what level of engagement that they're going to provide for this job. If they can give me enough that they are showing up in something that they put effort into, I know they're going to put some effort into the job as well. So that's number two. And number three is follow-up. If this is a very customer-facing role, and the amount of people that didn't even send a thank you email after the interview, for me, it really is setting people apart, the ones that have done that. But it has not been across the board of sending that 2 seconds of, thanks so much for your time. It was a pleasure to meet you. I learned a lot. I look forward to next steps. Boom, you're done. And I've got such a good impression that comes forward from that. So those are my 3 tips of how to be a really good interviewer. Show up on time, make sure you dress for the role that you want, and then follow up in the end to show how engaged you are for this position.
Okay, are you sure you're a millennial? Because you got a room of boomers and greatest generation shaking their head, smiling. Are you sure you're not? You sure you're not?
Well, I figure I was trained by the boomers on how to do it, and I do understand that there is a level of respect that comes with it, and it shows, like, if you're interviewing, this is the best you're ever going to be, right? It's kind of like if we took it to dating, like the first date, that's the best behavior you're ever going to be on. So if I don't get a good first impression from that, I feel like it's going to be downhill afterwards.
I love it. This is, like I said, you got old folks shaking their head going, yeah, you go get them, you youngster.
Well, and to be fair, the people that I'm interviewing, they're of all age ranges. So this is not necessarily a generational thing. I think it's more of a current cultural thing.
So You're telling me boomers show up late?
I'm not saying that they were late, but there are other things.
Okay, as long as
terrible. They're terrible.
I gotta say,
T-shirts, Fred.
Yeah, well, I want you to know what you're going to get, so it's always authentic. But again, we tap dance around what's coming up later. So, Barbara, you wanna comment on this?
Well, I agree that some things you would just think would be a given. I've been doing a lot of interviews with people myself, but I'm interviewing them to see if they would be qualified to take my coaching course. Okay. And the number of people that set appointments and then don't show up is shocking. You know, when it's just not something that I wouldn't do unless something disastrous happened. And then of course, you know, there's sometimes life happens and you can't show up for something, but to set an appointment and make a commitment and you know, you've tied up somebody's time, right, and then to not show is just kind of shocking. So you're talking about people being late. You know, it's like, okay, even that just is another shocker. I give people 5 minutes, and if they're 5 minutes late, I'm off. So
right.
It's like, you're not gonna waste any more of my time than 5 minutes, because that's the cutoff. So yeah, so I understand. And so what do? Do you wait for them when they're late? How long do you wait?
Ooh, good question.
5 minutes is also my rule. And then I try to put myself, instead of getting angry or annoyed that they are wasting my time, because that is my default go-to,
yeah.
What else could have happened? You know,
right.
Are they okay? Like,
right.
Let's put it from that. So I'll send an email just saying, you know, hey, I hope everything is okay. Just as a reminder, we had this time set. And I'll give them at least one more opportunity to set something else, because life does life. You know, we do have persons that hit North Carolina. So I do try to give them the benefit of the doubt that something could have gone wrong, but they don't get 3 strikes. They get 2.
So I like that. And before we go on to the good, I really like that, the fact that you ask if everything's okay, because I know somebody who recently missed a recording date, and the host used some unfortunate language in there and found out that the woman was at the hospital with her son in the ER room. So that is awesome there. And there is a Gen A question coming after the good, because I got to teach another millennial guest about Skibbity Toilet.
I was at a middle school. I was chaperoning a middle school band game night last night, and part of the games they were doing was karaoke, and they were trying to sing along to the Skibbity Toilet thing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Fred would love this.
God, I wish you got video of it. So, all right, take us to the good. We've heard the bad, we've heard the ugly, so let's end us on the good. Go to Gen A, and then the question of the day.
Yes, so the good. Again, this is a story coming from my personal life, but one of the things that I do is I host wellness retreats, and typically it's specifically for women. And we just hosted one a few weeks ago, and you know, everyone was coming into this retreat with their own things that they wanted to work on, with their own hesitations and fears, and it's a big time commitment to devote 3 whole days just to yourself. And I think it's something that, you know, especially in our fast-paced world, we're so good at filling up our time with so much that we don't generally take the time to do these other things for ourselves. And the good that was able to happen for the women who were in attendance, you know, it was life-changing for them personally and professionally, because we tackled both of those things. Because from my personal, you know, belief perspective, is that we're all of the things. You know, we are the mother, we are the coworker, we are the business owner, we are the wife, we are the daughter. Like, we own all of these aspects of ourselves. And so I make sure that we cover that in a very holistic way. And so to sit with these women and see the breakthroughs that they could make because they took the time for themselves, even though it was scary. And I know there's probably aspects to all of our lives where there's something that we think, I think this would be good for me, but it's scary. And so we don't want to go forward because the fear of the unknown prevents us from moving forward. So the good that I'm hoping for people to take away with this story is whatever that thing is, that you have that little voice saying, oh, I think this could be good. Listen to that voice. Don't let the louder voices be like, oh, but what if this could happen and this could happen, blah, 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 all the reasons and excuses. Let's just take a time to kind of mute that voice and amplify the one going, but yeah, but what if we did go and how great it could be. So
you're saying 3 days? Dear God, I took last Saturday off and felt guilty about it all week.
That's exactly my point. It's things that can just be taking an hour for yourself can make you feel guilty. So this is a huge time investment that these women were able to make for themselves.
I'm blown away. I'd be farther behind for months than I am now with 3 days. Barbara?
Fight you on that, Fred. I'd give you some questions to think if maybe that is actually true.
Okay, fair enough. I'm willing to answer. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah, I agree, though, what Catherine's saying. It's so important to take time for yourself, whatever that is. Maybe it's a day for you, Fred. Maybe you can do for yourself in a day what somebody else it would take in 3 days. Because there's a lot of coming off from the I'm the mom, I'm the breadwinner, all that kind of stuff that happens for, a single parent. But then if you've got another spouse, then you've got another person to even consider. So there's a lot of, high energy, go to come off of. That might take a day for some people. And then finally go, okay, I've landed and I'm here and it's only me. And now, okay, so I get to look at me. Ooh, that's scary. Okay, so it might take another little bit of a time to say, okay, I'm ready to focus on me and what's happening inside of me and how I'm feeling about that. And oh my goodness. And then by the third day, you'd probably be going, I'm here. Life is good.
Exactly.
Life is good. So I can imagine that those 3 days would be so healing for somebody that's just on the treadmill of life.
And I liken it to, that when you're just going all the time, it's kind of like when you have your phone plugged in, but you're using it. And so your charge is never going up because you're draining your battery at the same time, if you're even charging it at all. So for them to really take away all the other distractions, like their phone was off and it was just charging. So they were able to start back and come back into their life fully at 100%. So they are going to be way more effective than they had been if they hadn't taken it.
No cap.
No cap.
So take us into, because I'm loving this. I'm getting known as the guy who understands Gen A. So give us more Gen A slang today.
It's just the same thing repeated over and over again is all I can figure out as far as Gen A. I mean, you'd think that I spent, this time with these 7th and 8th graders yesterday that I would have picked up some more slang, but I didn't. It was really just mind-numbing.
Yeah, well, so Fred's sad, but that's okay. So give us the question of the day.
Yes. So the question of the day that I'm asking for everyone is, how do you know? What are some of the signs to let you know when you are your true, authentic self?
Ooh, who wants to jump first? Do I make Barbara jump first, or do I pick a Jim?
No.
I got a Jim that wants to answer it. Who wants to answer first? No one raising their hands? All right, I'll pick on Tess because she's been quiet the longest.
Yeah, that's good because I want to hear from Tess.
Yeah.
So can you repeat the question just so I'm clear?
Yes, absolutely. I also dropped it in our internal chat so you can see it there as well. But it's, when do you know that you are your true, authentic self? Like, when do you feel the most you? And are there any sort of signs or clues that let you know that you are in that space?
Well, I am a mental fitness coach, and I do come from that neurology space where you guys have been talking a lot all about this division and equity. And James, we have a lot to talk about that because for me personally, it really is about me dividing myself. And so when I feel divided, guess what I feel like? I feel shame, I feel guilt, I feel frustrated, I feel annoyed, I feel judgment. And so when I feel those things, I know that's what I'm getting, because how you feel is what we get. You can ask yourself how you feel, and then what keeps coming. The same thing, that however you feel, how you think. So I really love to address this emotional spaces, these unseen spaces that get often disconnected from that logical, all the laws of the earth, but then I like to say everything is spiritual. It's in that place of unseen. So to answer that question, when am I truly my authentic self? It's when I feel good. And I know I'm in my authentic self.
All right. Let's go to Jim. Yeah, I know. You want to go? Bring it. I love it. Go for it.
And she mentioned, Katrine mentioned when you're in a space. I am my absolute most authentic self when I'm in a classroom. People who see equity and don't see equity and whatever that looks like, or any kind of opposing views, and they are really, really talking about it, not fighting each other, not throwing anything back and forth, but they're talking about it. And one stops and reflects, and then the other stops and reflects. And I don't have to be saying anything at that time. What I'm doing, I'm just trying to keep the balance, keep the energy going, keep the flow going, because I know when both of those parties, either individuals or groups, leave, they will have additional information that they did not have before that dialogue started. So then when they're in dialogue versus debate, so that would probably really take it in that dialogue mode.
And that's why you're on KPHred, because it's about discussion, not argument. Okay, so.
But what I found, Kat, just to come back around that with James, is that when you are not divisive to yourself, or when you're not listening to the judge to yourself, that's just always speaking in your ear, telling you all the things you aren't, or you're waking up in the middle of the night worrying about this and that because your life, and it's always activated. When you can, what I found is the whole room, the whole atmosphere changes. And then guess what? I walk in the room, I'm not divisive, so it creates space for other people to not be divisive. That's what I think James is talking about, is when you are in that space, now you're giving freedom for others to be in that collective space with you.
Yes.
And they can choose or not choose, because we're not in the judgmental of good or bad or wrong or right. But now we can say, interesting point, or what about this, or yes, and your language can change because you're no longer in opposition to things being not good or not feeling great.
So I've always been a fan of the show, That 70s Show. Red Foreman is kind of the voice I hear in my head of, come on, dumbass, move it. So, Kat, who do we pick on next?
I think I'd like to hear from Howard next.
Ooh, this ought to be good. Bring it on, Howard. You're muted, too.
I'm better off muted, believe me.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still going to give you a platform.
Ooh, authentic or not to be authentic? That is the question.
That is.
Do I like the person? Or do I not care about the person?
Ooh.
Usually I try to be real with people, but some people aren't worth it. They only want to hear what their thoughts are coming out of their mouth, coming out of my mouth. Usually I'll just make a comment and keep walking or not come back.
Like a trade show.
Yes, like a trade show. You know, I'm usually bluntly honest, unfortunately.
I always liked it about you, blunt force trauma. Yep, it's good.
Like the one trade show, there were these two people. I think it must have been their first show, and nobody was stopping at their booth. It was a nice booth. They were standing sort of up, but not in front of their table. So I was sort of blunt and just said, why don't you one of you move up in front of the table, and every time somebody walks by, say, why did you come to the show? And they might tell you. And I don't know if they were angry or not, but, I was just bluntly honest. And I don't have time to fake it. I mean, I do sometimes when I don't want to talk to somebody, I'll fake it. But normally I'm just blunt.
So I got to say, I remember trade shows where I had a booth. I would literally put 5 people in the aisle, all next to each other. You did not get past our booth without somebody saying, "Hi, how's the show been?"
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. I've got a new tactic also that works magnificently for trade shows, but that's
another
one
show.
Of my shows.
Yeah, that's fine. So before we make Barbara answer, we'll go to our other Jim.
Okay, I have several observations. I think it's a great question. One is, maybe I'm schizophrenic, but I might have multiple authentic selves. I'm not sure.
Multiple facets, yeah.
The second comment is the discussion around, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is if people would just start talking to each other genuinely, so many problems would go away. I mean, I'm even thinking of a book on this one. But anyway,
That would be good.
if you meet people, you may have disagreements about politics, sports teams, whatever it might be. If you just talk to people, I've met some people I may not agree with on some of that stuff, and they're really good friends now. So, and so I think that's important. And then I think the trade show comment is if you put an authentic self QR code on your forehead, that would be trade.
Oh no, I can just see that happening soon. Kat, you got a comment to that? Go ahead, Howard.
It would be better than where some of the badges are and where gentlemen have to look.
Oh. Now we go back to the 90s sensitivity training that I did go through, which...
Well, I'm just saying, it's true.
We won't go there.
Always the best.
I get it. Kat, you got a follow-up question to Jim? Comment? I'll give you.
Yeah, I do have a question, actually. So, tying back into what you were mentioning earlier about the AI, this is where I think really leaning into our authentic selves is going to set people apart with so much of artificialness around us. So and also as an engineer, I went to school of mines, and it was 24% women then. So to hear that it's still that way is a bit disappointing, but I understand the reason. So it was really interesting hearing you speak earlier.
And my school is now up to 40, but it's very unusual.
Yeah.
So
Can I say something about AI for 1 second?
Go for it.
I think AI is going to be is a balancer in our society. There are people who, because of their family or socioeconomic status, they have access to information and data because the family provides that, where you have these other populations that don't have it. All of a sudden, if AI is used appropriately, that population of people can have access to quality information the same as anyone else. Because if structured right, my next door neighbor is a professor, if structured right, and we teach youth how to use AI, I'm teaching my great-grandchildren how to use AI. I'm saying when you're having those questions, when you don't know, after you've tried, then you go to your dad, give him the AI question, and see what AI becomes a tutor. And so that's how I'm seeing it.
I agree. And you hit that one critical question, which is where the red foreman comes out of me, is used appropriate. Yeah, most people are dumbasses.
Right. Got to be used appropriate.
All right. So let us ask Barbara. We've given her time to cogitate on the question.
Well, cogitation.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like I'm my authentic self all the time. And I feel that I can say that I'm blessed. I feel I'm very blessed because I'm not put in situations where I can't or I don't have to be myself. So I get to be as crazy, as silly, as fun, as, just out there as I want to. And it's a blessing. I don't put myself in situations where I have to put on a facade or a face or, I'm me. And that's, I don't know. I guess I'm blessed in that I don't have to go to situations where I feel like I can't be my authentic self. So I don't know.
Has it always been that way for you?
No.
That's been a journey.
No. Yeah. No. It's been a journey, But I'll say I have worked from home for so long, like way before COVID, because I was in software and I could dial in through what was called a virtual private network, and I didn't have to go to an office. So I've been able to be my authentic self. Now, you talk about family and being included. I have a daughter who I am excluded from everything because I'm my authentic self, and I'm not going to put on a facade or a show or behave like you would think would be appropriate. So I'm not invited to her events anymore. So, but that's okay because I'm not going to change me and who I am, and try and fit in with what I should be for you. I just can't do it.
So you both hit that whole women in tech thing, and I remember when way not as long as Jim or Howard were dealing with technology. But, because I'm the youngster here, and I'm the youngest male. Hot damn, I love that. The best coders that I grew up with, they were all nerds, and half of them had bellies that they hadn't even been drinking beer, greasy, playing Dungeons and Dragons. And my question is it any wonder women weren't in technology with the guys around there like that?
I don't know. That was just accepted. I mean, you talk about, junk food.
Midnight pizza.
Junkies, right? We were junk food junkies. There was always food around, and people would just sit and eat. And of course, so there was a lot of overweight coders, and we just didn't care what other people thought. That really came down to true.
But I went into engineering not for the men. I went into because that's how my brain works. That's the stuff that I loved. So that was not a motivating factor. Not even.
You were searching.
I think that's a really good comment, actually. And I will say that some of the most famous pioneers in technology are women, like Ada Lovelace and Grace Hopper, if you know who she is, who I've met met several times. She passed away a long time ago. But, so it's not, they were very much leaders in the field. They just were outnumbered, sadly.
So I need to make comment on what Katrin Becker. I can tell you none of those guys ever went into computers for the women because literally they were much better talking with their computers.
Yeah, they do.
That is very true for me. I really didn't know how to deal with people. I didn't understand people. I didn't understand emotions and people being emotional. I'm a very logical, linear thinker. And so when people would do things that didn't make sense logically, I didn't understand it and I didn't want to be around it. So that's why I loved computers, because 1 + 1 is always 2. Always 2. So it just made so much sense to me. And I get into situations where I look at systems that had been designed by maybe somebody that had been emotional, I don't know, but they didn't make logical sense. I go, let's just make this logical so that it flows instead of is all over the place. And I think that's where structured programming came into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And object programming. So you'd have one module that instead of the same code in 500 different places, it'd be in one place, and you just call that module and get the answer. We
have come a long way. One story is my wife was a very good student in high school. She was like in the top 5 in her class of 800. And her guidance counselor told the 10 guys well behind her in the class and she's from Boston, to apply to MIT and become engineers. Told her to become a nurse.
That sounds like that's an echo. That's
oh my gosh,
that gives me chill.
Yep, it's just.
And to her credit,
fortunately,
she didn't swing anything at his head, did she?
Oh my God.
Well, I have some examples of that later, but yes, it helped her career, frankly.
That happened a lot in schools. How people
it's just awful.
Terrible.
Okay, Kat, you got any other questions on this topic?
No, I think this was really good, and I'm glad that everyone was so open and honest. And I think, to Barbara's point, I feel like I'm my authentic self more and more every day, and the feedback that I get from that is people then feel empowered to be more of their true self.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that we can lean into that, which is for our own self, but then it has this incredible ripple effect to those around us, that it's really a great service that we can do for ourselves and others.
Excellent. Barbara?
I love it because being true to yourself is, I think it's everything. Being able to be true and confident and feel good about yourself and feel good about the choices that you're making. And, I think it just brings a light and a presence and a beauty to situations that otherwise might feel stifled and stuffy and uncomfortable. And it's like, yes, just bring who you are to whatever situation it is that you're in. And then you get to shine and be a bright light and give people the permission to be themselves and bring their own bright light.
Oh, I love that thought. Any final questions you got? You got your comment in. No final question there? Fair enough. We'll move. Go ahead, Jim.
Is there a risk for some at times to be their authentic self in the environments that you are working in? So if you are your authentic self, in certain spaces, will that move you forward, pull you backward?
Well, see, I think
great question. Wow,
that's a
really great question.
That goes to what Howard was talking about, in that sometimes it's not worth it, and I think sometimes I try to be always my authentic self because I want you to know who you're going to get it when I'm at my best, and it's up to you to hang around.
Exactly. Either you like it or you don't, and we don't have to hang out together if you don't like it. It's okay. I'm good, right?
Howard has
exactly. It's like if I'm taking on a new customer, I tell them, exactly what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. And if they don't like it, I fire them before they fire me.
Mm.
And I have fired customers.
Ah, yes.
It's fun.
Yeah, I got to say it is at times.
There's a good article on that, actually.
Yeah?
Customers, Howard.
Tess, I know you got something you want to say. I can see it in your eyes, even though our radio audience, 323-580-5755, call in for questions. And I know I've been watching. Ooh, wow. We've hit a new high, listeners, of any show. Ooh.
That's awesome.
Go, listeners. Chat at the site. Go ahead, Tess. Now that you've been buoyed by we got a better listenership than any live show we've done so far on KPHred in our almost 4 months there. Go for it.
Well, I want to piggyback on Barbara for a second because she's a healer, but very logical and loves her systems. Abstract, 1 + 1 = 2, and it's absolute, right? Well, I'm kind of the opposite of that I've learned to find those divisions where I'm very emotional. I've done everything emotional, and that hasn't served me all the time because I had no understanding of it. But I love absolute. And so did you know that there is a way to identify how you are sabotaging your life with all these voices and what they are, and you can identify them. And when you can identify them, now you can know what your emotions are doing, and you can adjust and have choices to understanding why you're sabotaging. You're becoming your inner compass, right? We need to tune in, tap into us. And we also need to recognize how those things, how we're sabotaging ourselves is affecting everybody else. And when I realized there's a absolute system to identify all these voices, these 10,000 thoughts that come through our head, to know what to do, filter through them, and to identify it brings this awareness that now you can make a choice that you didn't know you had. Like, I didn't even know I had a choice in my emotions. It was so terrible. I don't live that way anymore. I am my authentic self. I can take my emotions, the good and the bad, and trust them in a way that I've never been able to do before because I didn't think my emotions were absolute, which is interesting that most people do walk around thinking emotions are childish, they're irresponsible, they're fluttering from all over, they have no rhyme or reason. It's not true. I've discovered this, that I literally can identify why I was people pleasing, avoiding, restless, I'm a controller, I'm a stickler, like all these things that I didn't know those things were sabotaging me on a physical and spiritual level.
I like you said I'm a, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm a self-described pain in the ass, but that works for me. Okay, so kind of what I heard, I'm going to borrow a Denise Lanton question for the last 20 minutes of, and it kind of goes along with Kat's question of authentic self. And where I would aim at it is, how do you know your purpose? When was it? Purposes in life, but at this most recent phase, and like I know one of Jim's purposes is to teach, and I kid him, he'll teach until he's dead, and then he'll teach for another till the end of the semester. Anyways, but at what point in this current purpose of this part of your life, this whatever you want to call it, period of life, what event let you know what your purpose was? Who wants to go first? Barbara? Ooh, direct hit.
Okay, so what event was it that made me know my life's purpose?
Your purpose in this part of this period of your life. See, I've gone through several periods of my life. There was the period after my divorce. There was dealing with my wife's death. And I'm actually 20 years into that period. And it took me, I don't know, about 6 years ago, I figured out my purpose in life. And there's a very specific event that made me understand it. What was yours?
That's interesting. I don't know that I can answer that right off the top of my head. I think for this period of my life, I'm certainly grandma, and I know that role is super important to my grandson and to my daughter, who's the mommy of my grandson. Being there and providing that nurturing and support that when you're a single mom, it's difficult, to raise a child on your own. And having had that experience myself, I'm well versed at what that's like. I know what it's like. So I think that's a huge place for me right now, is being that loving, supportive grandma to my grandson, who's going to be 5 next month. And he's just started TK, which is before you go to kindergarten now, have the TK, which is new to me. And then, I'm still working in my role as a teacher, teaching people how to do coaching. I love that. And, I am particular on who comes to my class, because I am going to be my authentic self, and either it's going to work or it's not. So that's part of that interview process that we were talking about. And that's really, for me, I think those are the two things that I'm called to do, is to be present. I have a commitment that I've made to do my podcast, which is The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment with Gilda and Barbara. That is a commitment that I've been holding true to for over 4 years now. And I think that people are getting benefit from it. I know from the downloads and our growing group on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. I know that it's providing value. So I feel like I am showing up on that one. And certainly with the coaching and teaching people how to coach and provide value to other people and help them to change their thinking, like Tess was talking about, change their thinking, to understand that, we have what I call the egoic thinking, and we have the thinking that comes from our higher self, to be more focused on what that higher information is that's flowing through, as opposed to the information that's coming from the ego and trying to be better than, or, different than. All of that, it just doesn't serve, like Tess was saying, it doesn't really serve you. So to be tapped into that higher energy and the higher mind instead of the egoic mind, and bringing information to help people do that. And that's sort of what my coaching system does for people. It helps people to get into their heart instead of, get out of the head, get out of the ego, get into the heart. And what difference can we make in the world? How can we be better people? How can we give back? How can we let our true selves, right, our truth, be known, right? How can we bring our authentic selves, like Catherine was talking about, how can we bring that authentic selves so that we can be gifts to other people, right?
You got a lot there. I'm not going to try to dissect it with the South Side of Chicago in me. I'll just move to whichever Jim raises their hand first.
I'll shoot.
Go for it.
Where I am in life, I look at what are those societal needs. I look at consciousness. I look at the legacy that I am going to leave, because everyone's going to leave a legacy, and the responsibility. So I have those 10 grands and 9 greats. And so, and then I look at my principles. One of the principles that I wrap myself around, and that is equity and balance. And so I think that is the piece that probably influences me now more than anything else. Am I leaving a legacy that will allow my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and all those other little kids who are out there like them, so that they can be in a space, a better world where they can be the best that they can be without a lot of artificial stuff hindering them and holding them back. Because if they can be their authentic selves, as you were saying, it would be such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful world to be in if there's that equity and that balance. So that for me is that's the piece that's triggering me right now. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Let's see. Do we give Tess the last word and go to a Jim or a Howard, or do you want to give you the event in your life that? See, I know mine's very, very specific. I can quote a day and time, just about. But you wanna think more, Tess, or do I go to Howard?
Either one. I'm good.
All right, so
bring it on.
I'm going to go either one.
Now let's get some more graybeard in here first before we to break it. So Howard,
nothing like going to Chicago where it's nasty. Basically, three things. My current self was transformed out of three things: COVID, which totally wiped out my business; my wife's retirement; and a granddaughter.
Ooh, grandkids strike again.
Yeah. I mean, the granddaughter card. The two grandsons are local, so they're no big deal. But the granddaughter's sitting there in Spain, so she's pricey to get to. So as we came out of COVID, well, one, with my wife's retirement, I really didn't have to work anymore. So work has become really a total hobby. And so that's a beautiful stage because you play at work. And because of where my business was going pre-COVID into more and more trade shows, as I alluded to earlier, that's where companies have budgets. I was becoming more of a mentor to people going into shows and, of course, taking some of their money on the advertising and marketing side. And then Fred came along with this radio show thing, which once I get it all put together, because I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the world, I can actually use what I know for people's benefit. So I don't know if that answered it, but that's where I'm at.
The fact that you named me kind of at least a chunk of that, I think that freaking rocks. I can't improve it. Barbara, you want to make any feminine comment on that?
It's not like I could touch so many people without you. So,
now you're going into really dangerous territory about touching people with me. That's just kind of now that's like going to a different California thing. So, okay, California woman.
Chicago.
I am too, but
I'm in Chicago, where the whole Chicago school board just quit. So there we go.
Wow, did they?
Yeah,
what happened?
Really did. Yeah, yesterday.
Oh, I got
exciting.
It
that
is
exciting, but why?
The whole school board.
It must have had a reason. Come on, what's the reason?
I don't know. It's above my pay grade.
When you find out, you're going to do a segment on it. All right.
I want to hear that one, yeah.
I do too. That just sounds like the first shot of a revolution there. All right, so we're going to save the estrogen for last. Jim, your thoughts? What was that?
With regard to the Chicago School Board, I don't know the actual cause of them resigning, but it would be nice if the Chicago school system actually taught anything to anybody, but that's another story.
There's a lot of the school systems, yeah.
We can talk.
I don't think we want to talk about the Chicago school system.
Not on this episode. We ain't got enough time.
Another show.
Yeah. Woo.
So anyway, I'll just be brief, but there have been around long enough, as Fred said, that there have been many phases as an engineer designing computers and fixing companies and now teaching, and most of that was sort of by design. And the teaching part was sort of picked that for a number of reasons, but the best reason has been working with the students. And I really didn't anticipate that as much as I should have, one would think, but it's been just fascinating. And, most of my students are foreign students, so it's just fascinating working with them, and they teach me more than I teach them. So.
Isn't that the best thing about teaching? I love that. because I find that too when I'm working with people and teaching them about coaching. I learn as much as I teach.
Yeah.
And I love that.
There's no question. And I didn't anticipate that like I should have, I suppose, but it's worked out.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it doesn't make logical sense, but that is what actually happens in the classroom as you learn so much. It's so wonderful.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, for the last injection of estrogen, Tess. And you're muted. Muted estrogen.
Yeah, that estrogen thing. Talking to a woman that has gone through menopause, ending it. Yes.
And your husband's going, yes, too.
Barbara, I wanted to piggyback. Like, I always tell my clients, like, who's teaching who. Like, I learned so much, and give and take and receiving and giving is the same for me. Like, it's just the same. And I've learned that that's really important. That is the balance, James, of that undivided giving and receiving and being able to do all that. But anyways, I won't go there. I want to answer this question. This last year, I would like to, you call it a period, Fred. I call it a season, because we all have seasons, right?
But we don't have all periods.
It ends and it comes again. It might come again annually, whatever that looks like. But I like to refer to that as a season. I just came out of a season that was really, really difficult. I've gone through empty nest, separation from my husband, trying to move to another state for 2 years, selling my house, leaving Oregon that I grounded myself for 30 years, moving to San Diego, to everything that's new, not having friends. I had my business. I did a huge investment, went through huge loss where I had to recoup and actually sue lawyers. I've just had a lot of loss. And I think that's when I finally realized, or that question of like, when's the place that you actually change that and become that? Is that kind of the question you're saying? Like, when did you
realize it?
Realize it? Well, I realized it when I had to let go of the things I can't control. I've had to face my fears of being alone. And I had to just stop my own suffering.
Excellent. See, when I look at this question, this is where Kat, who had the drop, is that natural thing. For me, I understood my purpose when I sent that last prayer, and the only thing I gave a crap about was seeing my granddaughter open her first Christmas present, and seeing that T-shirt that said Big Sister was. Then I knew it was, Monty Python horns coming down from heaven, going, "Oh, see, dumbass." However, there was this whole period of, it took me 5 years to truly understand who my true authentic self was. Time was when I actually drove my ass out of bed to go walking, even though I was scared to death I was going to die. And I decided no living in fear of death. Fear wasn't going to stop me. And about 2 months after that, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and I learned that while they're operating on me, and I gained enough consciousness, that I was cracking them up with wise-ass comments. So I learned that I was a wise-ass. Now, there's a couple people on this call who've known me for a long time going, "Yeah, we knew that decades ago, dumbass." Amazingly enough, the last one happened just this past January, after I'd made 20 years of my wife's passing and 5 years of surviving the heart attack, which I knew I wasn't likely to do. And I was blown away when my partner, and I said, "I didn't know. How do you know?" And she said, "You're stubborn." So it took me 5 years to learn that part of my true authentic self is being stubborn. Again, there's a couple of people on this call, maybe everyone on here knows, going, "Hey, what took you so long?" So I love the answers, and to me, this is an awesome way to end the show. Barbara, I'll let you, as my co-host, let you come up with any final comments.
Okay, final comment. Acknowledge everyone that showed up right now, because without you all, we wouldn't have the diversity. And it's so glad that you're all included. And I love that everybody's got equity and equal time to share their voice. And what a blessing this has been to be able to spend time with such beautiful, wonderful people. And so that's my final comment. I love you guys.
All right. With that, I'll take us out. Bear with me.
Lighting up the night, we're gonna dance like it's our last night alive. Hands up in the air, we're reaching for the sky, no looking back now, baby. We're ready.
Enter at CareerBuilder.com to win a trip to Jingle Ball in New York City and discover your earning potential along the way. CareerBuilder.com knows that your skills are superpowers and employers need you now like never before. CareerBuilder.com, specially designed tools to help you move up, like Career Builder Collab. Try the Resume Builder. Learn what recruiters are looking for, search salaries, and more. You'll be amazed at the skills you already have to build your future. Register to win and find full rules at CareerBuilder.com.
Residents at Brightview Senior Living Communities enjoy enhanced possibilities, independence, and choice. Brightview on New Canaan offers vibrant assisted living and memory care services through various daily programs and cultural events, chef-prepared meals, safety and security, transportation, resort-style amenities, and high-quality care. Everything you need is here. Discover more at brightviewNewCanaan.com. That's brightviewNewCanaan.com. Equal housing opportunity.